Welcome to Mindfulness Manufacturing, the podcast for manufacturing leaders and professionals.
Designed for high impact on your way to work or unwind on your way home to gain clarity for tomorrow.
Step out of your comfort zone and discover new perspectives to add value, get results, and make a difference.
Yes, let's jump in.
All right. Well, let's talk gratitude today. What is there to be grateful for in 2021? This is perhaps a loaded question, and one that you may not have given much thought to up to now, because perhaps you're so overwhelmed with all the things that are overwhelming us these days, right? So, Trevor, what's gratitude mean to you? I mean, what do you think the big deal about gratitude would be?
Well, as we've been practicing this more and more, it definitely helps just keeping that mindset, right? Keeping your mind not caught up in your own self details of what you don't have. And I find that's journaling's really helped me through that and puts you in that habit of, well, wait a minute, there's a lot of things that we can be frustrated about. Some silly things this morning that came up. And once I got a chance to kind of step back a little bit, think about what's good, it shifted everything.
Cool. So we've got a guest, Trevor, with us today, Lisa Ryan.
Yes, I had the gift of being told about Lisa Ryan and her speaking, a renowned speaker and a woman with manufacturing background. And that's what we love to have on the show, and excited to have someone from Cleveland, Ohio, just across Lake Erie, where I grew up. And she helps manufacturers keep their top talent from becoming someone else's. Welcome, Lisa.
Hey, it's really great to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Glad to have you, Lisa. What's gratitude? What's that mean to you? What in the world does gratitude have to do with manufacturing? I mean, why would we dare even talk about this on a podcast? Mindfulness manufacturing.
Well, you think about the fact that there's going to be over 2 million manufacturing jobs that are going unfilled by the year 2025. And so the people that you have working for you, they want to feel that they are valued, that they're appreciated. And we think about employee engagement, we think about employee recognition, but unless gratitude starts with yourself first, you can't take it to the workplace. So in my programs, I really teach that foundation of gratitude that can help that manager, that leader, that hourly employee, that person on the production floor to look for the good. And this has been a particularly challenging year to find it. But once they can find that for themselves, then their health feels better. Physically, they feel better. They're seeing their relationships get better, not only at home, but then they're bringing this nicer, kinder person, more grateful person to the workplace. And we can literally change the culture of an organization simply one thank you at a time.
Yeah, but wait a minute. So as a manager, as a leader in manufacturing, these guys get their paycheck every Friday on time, right? And the check clears. So why would I need to be grateful?
You know what? I can't tell you how many times I hear that same excuse. And the funny thing is that, you know what? That check on Friday is paying them for doing a job. And if that's all you want from your employees is a job, they're going to do exactly enough work so that they don't get fired, because chances are good that you are paying them exactly enough so that they don't quit. Yeah. But if you, on the other hand, catch that employee in the act of doing things well, say thank you, know something about their family, know something about connecting with them personally and sharing with them how they're contributing to the greater mission. That employee is going to give you their blood, their sweat, their tears. They're not going to go down the street for 50 cents more an hour. They're not going to leave manufacturing to go deliver boxes for Amazon because they feel valued. And so that's what we need to bring into the workplace. It is a paycheck is important. Market wages are important, but it's that connection that you're making with your employees. You can't afford to lose those people who are good and working for you now.
Trevor and I both we talk about discretionary effort.
Yep.
And it's exactly what you're describing there, where, people will do what it takes to maintain, sustain what is required of the job and do a good job at it, right? It doesn't mean that they're not giving it their all, but there is an element beyond, an A, and that's an A plus, or put it on a whole nother scale. But you get that discretionary effort from the workforce, and that's a game changer. And I would challenge any manager, leader, supervisor, team leader, I would challenge anybody to assess what's the discretionary effort you're getting, and what discretionary effort could you be getting if you did just a few, I hate to throw this in there, but if you did a few mindful things.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and you think about, there's two ways for that person, that manager walking through the plant. They can walk through the plant, make a beeline to their office, not even spend the time of day or a second talking to their employees, because they are all that in a bag of chips and they don't need to waste their time with the hourly staff. Or that same leader can walk through the plant and stop and say, "Hey, Bob, how you doing?" Saying hi to Bob in the morning. Now, a couple things you can tell. Number one, is Bob having a good day or a bad day? If Bob is normally in a good mood and there's something about the way he says hi back, you can tell, ooh, there's something going on with Bob. I should see if they are, what's going on with them. So you can tell a lot simply by just walking through the plant and saying, "Hey, Bob, hey, Joe, hey, Sally, how you doing today?" And for them, for you as a leader, they see you differently. It's like, ooh, he knows my name. She knows my name. And just those little connections is what starts to make people feel valued and feel that they're appreciated by leadership.
And it's just about being intentional, and it's fun, just having those conversations, because let's face it, that's what it's about. It's about the people. And I've even heard operators talk about, you're paying me to load this station, but these ideas, these are free. Like, like all this doesn't cost any more. I'm going to load it on cycle time. I'm going to hit that palm button or pull the handle. But there's so much more, and it's just having that choice. So Lisa, I'm talking to a founder of a company that services manufacturing, and the conversation didn't end that well. And it was basically just around what Dave was saying. Hey, I'm not having that bad a turnover, and they get their paycheck on Friday, so I don't really need to know them any better. They're just, it was really, I couldn't break them.
Mm-hmm.
What's your experience when you have an owner that doesn't have enough pain, but man, if this guy just got to know his people a little bit more, there could be so much more.
Well, it's unfortunate, because I know when people walk up to me after one of my programs, they're like, "Oh, my company really needs you." I know in my heart the chance of that company ever hiring me is slim and none, because it's the companies that need it the most who are the least willing to make the investment. So I say the same thing to leaders as I say to hourly employees who come up to me and say, "You know what, my manager, it's a pain, it's a toxic environment, I don't feel appreciated, what should I do?" And I will tell them, you have to make the decision yourself. is because life is too short to be miserable. So are you willing to stay in a toxic environment and take that out on your family and feel miserable and feel the physical ramifications of a toxic workplace? Or are you going to take a risk and potentially go somewhere else? Because if you got skills in manufacturing, you can go somewhere else. For leaders, if somebody comes up to me and they're just not seeing it, they think that that engagement is an HR position, and like you just said, I can't break them, I won't work with them, because it's not worth me beating my head against the brick wall to try to change people unless they're willing to change. Engagement, appreciation, setting that culture of appreciation must start at the top. And if it doesn't, well, you're kind of SOL.
All right, well, let's get down to the brass tacks here then. We're talking, a toxic environment, right? We've got negative Ned, we've got negative Nancy, and sometimes change, like you said earlier, Lisa, the change starts with me, right? It starts within ourselves first, and then it kind of, the ripple effect out into the others that we work with. So whatever level somebody is in at an organization, I'm going to throw out a couple of things here. One, the negative Ned, negative Nancy, I would challenge them to say, all right, what are 3 things today in the previous 24 hours that I'm grateful for, right? And negative Ned is going to say, well, I'm glad that we've only got 1 machine down today. I'm glad that 8 out of the 10 operators showed up. All right. As opposed to, oh, we've got a machine down today and 2 people did not show up today. There's a very specific difference between those 2 statements and the impact that has on the organization. Are you buying that? Does that make sense?
Part of it is making it a part of the culture. For example, your Monday morning stand-up meetings or your shift meetings. Why not start the meeting by letting people share 30 seconds of good news? Hey, my kid just won the baseball tournament. Hey, my wife just shared with me she's expecting. Whatever it is, business related or not. Because what that does is it changes the energy in the room. If you go up to negative Ned and you say, tell me 3 things that you're grateful for, he's going to be like, I am grateful that I am out of here in like 10 minutes, dude. I got nothing. So it has to be a whole cultural change. And you're going to have that small percentage of people, when you say we're sharing good things at the meeting, you will have that small percentage of people saying, this is stupid, I'm not doing it. But what happens over time, unfortunately, too many people give up. Well, they thought it was stupid, they weren't doing it, let's not do it anymore. But the smart managers persist and know that over time, when the employees see that this is not one more, flavor of the week that we're trying, this is something that is part of our culture, then they will start to buy in. And for the employees that absolutely won't, well, you know what, they got to go. Because if you think about that one toxic, horrible person that is sucking the life out of your room, when they start causing people to leave, who leaves? Your best employees or your worst employees? It's your best employees, right? So you can't afford to have that toxic person, because we've all been there. We've been in an organization, we've worked for a company where we've had that just horrible person working by us, and something happens. They quit, they get fired, and the whole company's like, ah. And no matter how talented of a craftsperson that person is, the rest of the team figures it out, because they no longer have to look at that person, whether they're a slacker or a negative attitude. The funniest thing, I was doing one of my programs and we did a whole activity about firing the toxic people in your organization. And when I went around at the end of the program and I said, what's your one takeaway? What's your biggest takeaway? One woman said, I know who I'm firing on Monday. So, oops, not an easy decision, but when you look at the whole picture, it's the only decision you can make.
That one person I'm firing on Monday is a result of your response to being mindful. Being mindful of who do I need to fire on Monday? Being mindful of, am I the one that needs to be fired on Monday because I am the source of the toxicity, right? To reflect and be conscious of, be self-aware of, yeah, this is a negative environment around here. Well, wait a minute. What's the source of that negative environment? I have found myself when I'm the one saying, man, it sucks around here today, right? Or this place sucks. Whoa, wait, where am I in that chain of events? I mean, Trevor, what are you thinking?
Yeah, it kind of comes back to what we talked about in the beginning, and it starts with you, right? It's kind of like, what do I own in this?
Yeah.
And sometimes I found that I try to practice that gratefulness and think that through. And then there's a balance where it's kind of like, well, wait a minute. I'm finding what's good in the team here. And if anything, I've struggled, whether it's an owner that I think I want to help because he doesn't see his employees as valuable. And it's something that I've learned is that, like you said, Lisa, you gotta walk away and realize that you're not changing that. You know, why are you putting your energy, Trevor, towards someone that's, you're trying to plant flowers in somebody's garden that isn't going to water them. So what are you doing?
Mhm.
And I've had to catch myself, and it's like, well, no, you just got to be positive. But there's a space of, and a balance between positive and being grateful. And then also being open-minded enough to say, hey, if I just try to accommodate this negative person and I don't deal with this person, it's going to cost the other 9 people on the team if I don't deal with the one. And that's where there is that balance that I have struggled with in the past.
So, Lisa, what's the difference in being positive and being grateful?
They're very closely related to each other because I don't think that you can be positive without being grateful, but you could probably be grateful without being positive, because gratitude is looking at any situation that you have and finding the good. You're not going to be positive if you just got into a car accident, smashed your car, but you are going to be grateful to say, you know what, I survived. I'm going to get a new car out of it. So what gratitude does is it literally rewires your brain. What I talk about in all my programs, because again, they have that foundation of appreciation, but starting with the gratitude journal. I know you both said that you have a regular gratitude practice. I've been keeping my journal for 12 years now. I started in 2009, and that's the easiest thing to do. And it's simply writing down 3 to 5 things a day for which you're grateful. And if you're going through a really dark period right now, like I was working with one woman a couple of years ago, telling her about the gratitude journal, she goes, Lisa, I got nothing. I'm like, okay, so let's go through this. So when you turn on the light switch, did electricity happen? She's like, yeah, but I'm not feeling it. Okay, when you walk down the hall in the morning, did you have hot showers and running water? Yeah, couldn't get her. I mean, she was in such a dark place. And here's the sad part is for about 45 minutes, we talked, and the only thing that she could find was, you know what? I like the color of my nail polish. It was the only positive thing. And it took her about 45 minutes. But you know what happened? The next day, it got a little easier. And the next day, it got a little easier. So it's making that commitment. And if you have that negative Ned in your life and you're, Sally Sunshine, then it's not telling negative Ned, hey, you got to start this gratitude practice, dude. You really need it. It's, hey, you know what? I listened to this amazing podcast about gratitude. So why don't you and I, send each other a text every day and share one thing that we're grateful for? because not only will that not be all about negative Ned, oh, she's just telling me this because I got to change. This is something that Sally Sunshine wants to bring. And what happens is it will also strengthen their relationship. But it's not about the negative person. It's looking for ways to bring them out of it without actually letting them know, hey, dude, you're the problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love that. I know it reminds me, there was a point where we were looking at some things and the department I was running in manufacturing. And so for all the supervisors to say, hey, we're going to target that everybody, does 3 ROEs a week. And each supervisor's got 10 to 15 people. So, once a week, you do 3 ROEs. And I got like, come on, you want me to like make stuff up? I'm like, come on, like you've got 10 people, you don't see 3 good things happening a week. And there's a lot of grunting and groaning. And then I'd be just standing on the side of the line, and the supervisor would say, hey, yeah, Johnny over here did this today. And I kind of gave him the look, and he's like, oh yeah, I guess I could use that as an ROE. Put that in their record of employment. Yeah, it's free, man. And you didn't have to make it up. But what that did, a little bit of structure, whether it's writing down 3 things you're grateful for, or having to write down 3 good things that your people did a week in their files. And then that really started to gain some momentum. So some structure can drive that behavior. But you said 12 years ago, Lisa, that you started this. So I always like to know, like, you haven't always been in this space, and you've been in manufacturing, and I know you can weld. And what's your moment? What's your point that maybe you weren't in the best place, and now 12 years ago you start this, and you have this great vision and talents now? Like what happened to you?
Well, I actually I was at a 4-day retreat in 2009. It entailed a fire walk as well, which is pretty powerful. When you walk on fire, I mean, you figure that you can pretty much do anything. And as my friends and I were driving home from Chicago, we knew that unless we took action, life was going to go right back to where it was before. So we decided to open up a Facebook thread, and every day we shared with each other, people we met, things we learned, experiences that we had. And one of my friends said, well, why don't we write down 3 things that we're grateful for? I mean, I didn't think anything of it, but the change that happened, I mean, I was in medical sales at the time, and customers I hadn't talked to for months were calling me, hey, can you come in and sell me some stuff? I had 3 large facilities I'd been calling on for 5 years that closed effortlessly. I noticed the difference from my husband. Like, all of this was changing. And the funny thing that kind of went around with that is I was still working full time at that time. And I knew I wanted to be a speaker. I just wasn't sure what I was going to speak on. I was in sales, but I really didn't want to go there. I was in, I had done some, but I didn't want to do in the welding industry. I did oxyacetylene safety seminars as part of my job. So, but I didn't know what to talk about. And it wasn't until I had that experience and I saw the power of gratitude that I knew to the core of my being that that was the message I was supposed to share. Because it's very easy to do. It's also easy not to do. It's very easy to recognize people and catch people in the act of doing things well. It's also easy to just assume that people know how you feel about them and not bother saying thank you. So it's just these little things. I'm not a speaker that's going to come in and put together a whole 52-step strategic plan that people are going to put in the file and never look at again. I come in, and just like you guys with mindfulness, it's just these little things that you can do that take less than 5 minutes a day that can absolutely change your life on every level.
I've been doing an exercise in gratitude for 14 months now. And if you would have told me 14 months ago, yeah, you're going to do this for the next year and beyond, I'd say, no, I'm just ready for this exercise to be over with. It was a 30-day exercise, 30-day challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Do not repeat anything that you've already said in the past 30 days. It has to be something you're grateful for from the previous 24 hours, and name 3, ready, go. And it has been a game changer in my life, an absolute game changer. And I subscribe to, and I believe that you cannot be happy if you are ungrateful.
Yep.
Happiness is an opportunity for you with the practice of gratitude. I'll leave it at that. So, man,
I love it.
this is near and dear to my heart. It really is.
Lisa, bring it home here. What do you want to leave our listeners with?
Well, gratitude starts with you. No one else can do it for you. So think about something that you can do as far as a gratitude practice, morning journal, evening journal, jumping on a Facebook group with a friend, texting people, just looking for ways. And like Dave said, that 30-day gratitude challenge, set yourself up. Now, the thing with the 30-day challenge is the evil plan is that you keep going. It doesn't end at 30 days. The 30 days just gets you into the habit of doing it. But I promise you, and if you get out of the habit for a couple of days, forgive yourself, keep going, move on. Get a gratitude journal with no dates in it. That way you don't have to feel guilty.
Yeah,
But these little things that you do on a regular basis, I promise you it'll change your life.
absolutely. I never once thought about stopping at 31 days. I wasn't counting the days. I looked up and it was 6 months ago, right? So it's a game changer. Thank you, Lisa, so much for joining us today. And Trevor?
Hey, I am grateful that this podcast keeps on running and we have listeners that keep us motivated. And I reach out to new friends, and Dave and I meet people like Lisa that are just willing to share. And that's the community. And we all know that when you've practiced this and you have that mindset of abundance and you want to share, and yeah, when you feel good about yourself and I like that discussion around positive and gratitude and the fact of, yeah, it's not always positive, but it's hard to be angry at somebody else or something else when you can ground yourself to what you do have. And it works. So all you can do is practice it. And I love the last idea is that if you're driving into work right now, you're going to have a meeting at some point. Take Lisa's challenge and just say, hey, what's good today? Let's start with that. Let's take 30 seconds. So let's try it, listeners. Have a great day. Thanks for taking the time to join us today. How you show up matters.
We'd love for you to subscribe, share with a colleague, and tell us what you think.
Your feedback's important to provide this high-quality, powerful program that makes a difference in your life and others. Take care.
See you next time.